Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to RobMotive. A couple of recent mods I wanted to go over on the new Toyota Tacoma. In case you didn't know, this is a 2025 Toyota Tacoma TRD off-road. One thing I do want to mention, I did remove the badging from the bed. I showed that in a previous video. This is a bear. Patience, because once you pull that top layer off, you're left with this white, really nasty material underneath that takes a lot of work to get off. Now, some people have mentioned using those rubber eraser wheels. It's a mixed bag with those, I think. I've heard from some people that say they've used them and have had success, no problems, and others who say that it damaged the clear coat and they had to have it buffed or fixed, I guess. I can't imagine myself anything that spins at a decent RPM is not going to damage the clear coat. I would definitely not use those. Unfortunately, you have to use your fingertips, and that can even scratch your clear coat. And Goo Gone is the best that I've seen. Heat didn't really seem to make any difference with it at all. It's just Goo Gone and patience. Who knows? Anyway, it did come out pretty good on my truck. I don't have any damage with that. Next up, I did the rock sliders on the side. I have an install video on this. Pretty simple to do, except for the passenger side. There was a hole that didn't line up right. I don't know. I did get it to work. I managed to strip out one of the threads in the frame, I think. A little bit. I was able to get a bolt in, but I had to cut the bolt down. About 3/4 was removed to be able to tighten it into the hole. I think it's fine. There's a second bolt in there anyway. And speaking of bolts, the bracket comes, the slider itself, with 3 holes that supposedly you have threaded inserts or threads in the frame to be able to bolt into. I found that not to be true. There were only 2. Not a big deal. Everything else was perfectly fine. No other issues with it at all. And what I really like about this particular application is it's kind of tucked into the truck a bit. It's what I wanted. Something to sort of hide that pinch weld. I mean, the way that it's set up, it really draws your eye to the slider itself, so you don't really see that pinch weld under there. Although if you really want to see it, I suppose you can still see it. It is definitely not a step. I've had a few people ask me if these are steps. They are not. They are sliders, and they are stout, over 50 pounds a piece. But if you look, you can see here that when you're straight down on them, they barely stick out beyond the sill of the door. And if you try to put your feet on there, I mean, it's such an awkward position. I don't know how you would even use it for that. Maybe a little kid with tiny feet. But the problem is if you do try to use it as a step, you're going to be scraping against your paint when you get in and out, right? And it won't take long, particularly if you've got any rocks embedded in the tread on the bottom of your shoes, to scratch up your paint. So it could be a negative in that respect, I guess, for people that think that maybe it is a step and they try to use it that way. I don't know. Now, again, getting in and out, let's go ahead and hop up in here. We'll use the old handle to pull ourselves in, I guess. If you try to use it as a step, as I mentioned, hopefully you can see here there's really nothing to get to. Maybe the back of your foot to steady yourself, I guess, if you really wanted to. Again, I wouldn't recommend that, because then you're going to scrape this part of the paint on your sill. So if you have folks that actually need to use steps, I wouldn't recommend these, because it's in the end only going to be frustrating for you when it damages your truck. Now, what I did most recently, and I did it just today on the truck, is I tinted the front windows. Just the 2 front windows. And that's because the rear windows and the back window already come tinted from the factory, right? So what I always try to do is match up. I want the front windows to match the rear windows. And if you look, and I know it's probably hard to see because of the reflection, the sky, and the plants behind me, but they're pretty much spot on the way that it is right now. I'll back up a little bit. You guys can kind of see. You can still see through them somewhat. Again, maybe not in the reflections that I have out here. They do match though, I think. What I went with was 20% in the front. That, in my experience, is as close as you can get to the back without it not being noticeably lighter or darker. I think it's a pretty good match, in my opinion. Now, the legalities of that kind of depends on where you are. Here in Texas, I believe the max you can go in, depending on how you look at it, is right around 34, 36%, something like that. Obviously, I'm below at 20. The shop makes you sign a waiver, which they have to cover themselves, right? And so that you're admitting that you're aware that you're putting something on the truck that's illegal. Now, from my perspective, we used to have inspections here, and once on a Jeep Gladiator that I had to have it removed to pass inspection. However, since then, Toyota has gotten rid of inspections, so I don't have to do that anymore. The only time that it would cause me a problem, I suppose, is if you get pulled over for something and the officer notices that your window tint is too dark. They do have those little meters they can hang on the glass to measure them, right? And then they can make you take it off. They can even fine you if they want to, I suppose. That usually is not a primary offense, I guess. So you'd have to be doing something else. And I guess if you're doing things legally anyway, like driving the speed limit, not blasting your music, not throwing cans out of your truck, you know, something crazy, probably not going to have a problem with it. Now, I do need to give a shout out to the shop I go to down here in South Texas. I'm in deep South Texas, a place called D-Tronics. They do window tinting as well as other things. I think they're primarily known for audio type stuff inside of trucks, but they also do window tinting. And I've always had excellent experiences with them there. That's where I went this time. And I swear today, when I had this done, I was in and out of there, man, 30 minutes, probably closer to 20, 25 minutes. That was really awesome. I love it. Now, as far as what I put in, it's the 3M type. It's the, I'd call it the middle of the road. It's not the ceramic or higher price stuff. It cost me 140 bucks for 2 windows. It's warranted for life. No big deal. I would highly recommend going with that level. You really don't need to spend, I don't know, 100 bucks a window or more to go with the higher price stuff. Anyway, I just wanted to get on, kind of run through what's been done on the truck recently, give you a little update on those side steps, and let you see what the new tent looks like. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Stay safe out there. Bye.